Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster with your hosts, Gaius and Jackson. Episode 154 coming at you. We got a stacked episode. We're going to rifle through tons of news. After taking a week off from the news, we've been busy with some anniversaries and some special episodes, which you guys can catch anywhere you guys get your podcast. So we kind of got a double feature worth 2 weeks worth of news to throw at you today, and going to let Gaius top it off with last night's, as of recordings, SAG winners. The Screen Actors Guild's awards were handed out on Sunday, February the 25th, and Gaius has the list. I actually didn't watch these. Did you watch the ceremony?
I did not watch it. I had a really busy weekend, so I didn't watch it.
No judgment. I didn't watch it either.
Yeah, I heard reviews of it because this was, of course, the first one they aired, or I guess that was streamed exclusively on Netflix. I know I saw someone write that it felt like it was like a 2-hour like bloated show because they, on Netflix on the streaming platform, there's you can go as long as you need to, or you don't have to cut anything for time.
Right.
But then I think it was Merck that commented on this. They were like, I don't know why you thought it felt bloated because stuff like the Oscars can be like 3-4 hours long. So I mean, if it's a clean 2 hours, that should be like a good thing. So I've heard like mixed things about the show itself, but I guess with their winners, I think we possibly have a clearer picture of who might win come Oscar night. It's looking pretty good for Oppenheimer. Who actually won the Producers Guild Award too for Best Picture, and that's a big sign that Oppenheimer is probably going to win Best Picture at the Oscars.
Locked. I'm already crazy. I'm already happy and celebrating its win at this point.
Yep. To break it down, Oppenheimer also won the Ensemble Cast Award at the SAG Awards. For a female actor in the leading role, this kind of makes the race more interesting between Emma Stone and Lily Gladstone. Lily Gladstone won for Killers of the Flower Moon. So I think it's between those two at this point for the Oscar. And they, of course, Lily Gladstone, I don't think she even got nominated for the BAFTA, but like Emma Stone won that. They've been going back and forth on, who's been winning. Yeah. Divine Joy Randolph won Female Actor in a Supporting Role for The Holdovers. She's won pretty much all of them. If she loses Oscar night, then she did something wrong. I don't know. I think that's definitely hers at this point.
I think so too.
Another one to make the race interesting for a male actor in the leading role, Cillian Murphy won for Oppenheimer, and it's been a back and forth between him and Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers. But this gives Cillian Murphy a clearer shot at winning Best Actor. Robert Downey Jr. won Best Supporting Actor for Oppenheimer. Kind of been like the trajectory it's been the entire time as well.
That'd be great for him.
And honestly, those were the major like kind of acting ones for movies. There were a few TV ones. We don't really cover TV as much anymore, but the People X Succession, it was a good final year for them. They won Best Ensemble for a drama series. The Bear won Best Comedy Ensemble. I don't think it's a comedy, but whatever. I mean, people
that's so strange.
People seem to think it is, and there are funny moments on it, but I guess each his own. I also thought it was really interesting that Pedro Pascal won for The Last of Us Best Actor in a Drama Series because he's been praised a lot for that show, and
he is great.
A lot of people thought it was going to go to Kieran Culkin for Succession because he had been winning in that category. But yeah, the good thing about the SAG Awards is it's not a lot of awards to give out between film and television. It's just for acting, and that's it. I don't know. Like you said, I think it's pretty locked for Oppenheimer. Do you think that it's locked in the lead actor category as well for Cillian Murphy, or you think
that'd be the category that I think is the least locked, although I definitely think it's swaying Cillian Murphy. I still think Paul Giamatti is going to put up a good fight. But as far as picture, director, I think those ones are more so locked, more so now than they have been. But no, I don't. I still think Paul Giamatti's got a shot. I wouldn't be like completely caught off guard if he ends up winning. But if I'm betting money, I'm going to bet Cillian Murphy.
Yeah. Now, what about the? So here's the deal. I want it for. I know they both can't win, but
I know.
Both of them would be
cut the trophy in half.
Would be no, right. Both of them would be a fun, like really great success story. They both have been doing this for a really long time. Paul Giamatti experienced the snub before with Sideways, and I think that's why people are like rooting for him too. But it'd be the case of like two really good actors winning it. And I still don't know. We're doing a Oscar predictions episode next week as of this recording, and I still don't know who I'm going to pick between those two. And it comes down, and it also is the same way for lead actress. I don't know what to do
I'm
with Lily
split. I
Gasso.
don't know where to go. That'll be a game time decision. I think you flip a coin at this point.
Yeah, and it's hard, but I mean, at least there's a race, and it's not just obvious.
Yeah, that's what makes it interesting. Yeah,
who's gonna win? But I mean, either win would be great. I just think like, and it's interesting because like this always happens during award season, but now there's certain posts on social media where they're actually kind of pitting Lily Gladstone against Emma Stone in like a kind of negative way, and as it turns out, they've become really good friends during this whole process together. Great. I mean, because like a lot of the times when you go through award season with your fellow nominees, like you're on this wave with each other, and yeah, I guess it's competitive in some sense, but it's also an experience that only these individuals know about, and they only have each other kind of rely on when like being in this really unique position. So they are at least close. I mean, have become friends throughout the whole process. So I kind of wish everyone else would stop making it a kind of battle between these two and just.
I mean, that's the nature of the awards race, right? I guess I kind of understand that, but the media is going to do its thing. I agree, though. I hope it's amicable between. It seems to be the case. It was nice that they've actually struck up a friendship.
Yeah, I rarely watch late night TV, but I was watching Jimmy Kimmel Live, and Emily Blunt, Robert Downey Jr., and Cillian Murphy were on just talking about Oppenheimer because they didn't really get to do that a lot when the movie came out because like it was right before the strikes happened, and it was just so cool to watch. They're really funny together. You can tell they all really get along. Nice. Emily Blunt, she was like, she didn't really do anything with Robert Downey Jr. in the movie, so they got to know each other just on this kind of like limited press tour, and then they all are in a group chat together, on like phone wise, like they all each other like Oppen homies, I guess, like the whole cast does. And Cillian Murphy, you can tell that he is having a good time, but this is also definitely like he seems more like a person that's like cares about the work and isn't so much about like the promoting and hijinks of like doing a press tour. But it seems like he's enjoying taking it all in, and they are really those two were really excited for him during that interview. That he like it seems like he's having like a moment to kind of really shine after being like basically a character actor in supporting roles, and then sometimes as a lead. But like he is finally getting his moment to shine, and it's something that Christopher Nolan promised that he would do for him, and he made good on that promise. So yeah, that's why that would be a good win story too.
Exactly.
In the end. But yeah, I think if you guys have your Oscar ballots at home, these wins are kind of an indication of where it could go. But never know. Come Oscar night, it can all be totally different on the night.
Exactly. Who knows? I mean, nothing's set in stone, but very much excited for March 10th.
I am, and I just want to bring up really quick because the Independent Spirit Film Awards were also over the weekend, and Past Lives won Best Feature, so good job, Past Lives.
Nice.
We all Celine Song won Best Director. Jeffrey Wright won Best Lead Performance for American Fiction, another really good movie that I think I'm glad it's getting noticed, even though I don't think it possible could win like a screenplay award at the Oscars, but it's a really good movie. Hopefully you can check it out before.
That's tomorrow's watch, I believe, actually, for me, is American Fiction. Nice. Yeah.
May December won Best First Screenplay as well. And again, Divine Joy Randolph won Best Supporting Actress. So she even sweeps the Indie Awards as well. So yeah, that's kind of our awards season recap a bit. And the next big one is the Academy Awards. And we are going to have an episode where we try to predict to the best of our abilities. Are we just going to, I don't know, we're trying to map it out still. I imagine maybe just the major categories, but maybe we'll do all. I don't know. We'll see
how quick we can do it. Definitely the majors first, and then I guess we can play it by ear. But we got to get those pivotal ones down. There's going to be categories where I'm not going to really find it worthwhile making a prediction. Like there's going to be some I just won't have seen any of those work. So I would be fine with missing out on those, but those big ones we definitely gotta cover.
And even if we don't cover them like live, like on the show, like we might still fill out a full ballot,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
and then let you guys know how well we did.
That like we did last year, exactly.
On the
We
following
both
episode.
did quite well. Yeah.
Did pretty good, yeah. And also other Oscar news, I forgot that Ryan Gosling is officially performing I'm Just Ken
That's
at
right.
the Academy Awards after months of speculation. So that should be fun. You know what? We never really got to talk about, but I did. He saw it, and if some of you follow him on Letterboxd, you know what he gave it. Jackson didn't really love it. But what did you think of that I'm Just Ken number in the movie? Did you think it was funny, or were you like, eh?
I thought more of like I don't think I looked at it as like humorous, more like Ryan Gosling flexing his musical talent again. Like I was impressed with like the choreography and the direction of the song and his performance in it. I honestly I guess I had like seen it, quote unquote, so many times by the time I'd actually seen the movie that it didn't come across funny to me anymore because it wasn't my first time really seeing the song performed. But like the musical, like I'm a sucker for good choreography, but for the most part, like choreography is not something that I like dig that much. I don't know what it is, but I do think it was like an impressive sequence in that movie. He is great musically in the couple moments that he's singing, and the costumes and stuff for that whole sequence are quite good too. There's a lot going on, but it was really well filmed. I'll give it that.
It's really
my appreciation for Barbie is more in the technical side of things, which it's hard to deny all those things, but it'll be interesting. I think it would have like kind of felt left out if he didn't perform it, and there was just no performance because I believe it was left up to, it was either going to be him or nobody that performed the song at the show. So if there was all these other performances for this nominated songs and then not his, I think it would have felt a little out of place. But just hoping he just does his thing. As long as he does, he can half-ass it. I think it would still be good.
Yeah, because Ryan Gosling, guys, he does have a musical background. He was on the Mickey Mouse Club back in the day when he was younger, and there's actually a lot of footage of him like full on like R&B soul singing. I was like, whoa, dude.
I have seen that actually, yeah.
And it's funny he was on that show with the likes of like Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake and Christina Aguilera. Like they were all on that show together. So yeah, he has musical chops, and it is a well done thing. I wonder if there was any pressure to do it live because it was such a popular thing from the movie.
I bet you there was.
And he kind of was like, in other interviews he made it seem like, oh well, it's not. We'll see. It's not really up to me, but yeah, it is up to you. Because like Mark Ronson was like the guy who wrote the song with Andrew Wyatt was like, I don't want no one else is going to perform it if he doesn't do it because he is the reason the song works so well.
We're probably going to play a clip from the movie, honestly. That's what I'd be doing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You wouldn't catch me singing.
You're like never.
Never.
But yeah, so we have that to look forward to as well. But in the spirit of actor, we're talking about acting awards. I guess we should talk about a little bit of casting news. It felt like a finally kind of situation.
I know this
with this
talked about for a long time with what we're about to get into.
Because there have been so many people have fan casted Fantastic Four, the MCU's take on the Fantastic Four. Back in the day, it was, I know Emily Blunt and John Krasinski were a top choice to do Sue and Reed Richards. Emily Blunt said she never wanted to do it. John Krasinski did do a fun cameo in the Multiverse of Madness, and
kind of cool.
That was that. And it's one of those things where I didn't care at this point who was in it, as long as like whatever you give us is official, so we don't have to really talk about it anymore. It was like one of those kind of situations. But yes, we now they released the news on Valentine's Day in a really kind of fun kind of MCU like Valentine's Day kind of card on all their official socials. One that I thought was cool, it seems like the movie is going to be set in like the 60s, so I think that is interesting. That is what it kind of alludes to.
I think that's neat.
We have Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, aka the Invisible Woman, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch, and Ebon Moss-Bachrach as Ben Grimm, aka the Thing. He is on The Bear as well, has been winning a bunch of supporting actor awards for that show. And Joseph Quinn was on Stranger Things, and his star is rising a lot too. He is going to be in A Quiet Place Day 1. He has a bunch of other stuff coming out soon. And then, of course, everyone knows who Pedro Pascal is. He's been he's been having a moment. He's on like 2 very popular TV shows. One where you don't see his face all that much, and another one where you get to see his face regularly.
On that note, I know you haven't seen it, but he has a fantastic supporting role in season 4 of Game of Thrones. That was the first time I'd ever seen. Back when I didn't even know who Pedro Pascal was, he is a supporting character in Game of Thrones and magnificent. He's a fan favorite. And that was like 2015, I think, when that season came out.
That's crazy that you brought that up, because I actually read an interview, I think over the weekend, where he brought up that role and said
probably
that,
made his career. I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, that's basically what he said. So that's interesting that you brought that up.
He was fucking awesome.
So how I feel about this? I also want Vanessa Kirby. I mean, is a great actress too. So I mean, I think the cast is great.
I think Vanessa Kirby, of those 4, she's like the top notch. She was great casting for Sue Storm. I think they're all. Yeah. I don't know the other 2. I know obviously Pedro Pascal. I don't know Joseph Quinn, or is it, how'd you pronounce his first name?
I think it's Ebon
Moss Bachrach. Yeah. I did not know what he was from at all. I never heard of him before. So I can only really weigh in on the first 2. I love Pedro Pascal. Not gonna lie, I didn't want to see him attached to an MCU thing, just simply because of like all the work it's going to take from him and like the stuff that we will miss. However, who knows?
I know
Vanessa Kirby, I thought was great casting too.
I know a recent example of that kind of situation. He was supposed to be in Zach Krager's next movie, the guy who directed Barbarian.
Yes.
And being attached to this, he had to drop out. Josh Brolin is replacing him in that movie.
Okay, well that's a good replacement, but like, damn, that's what I'm talking about. That's why I'm not happy about that.
Too, right. And funny because the MCU connection too, because Josh Brolin was, of course, Thanos.
Yeah.
And but I see your point. There's always like that. It's going to cost him roles and other things. Joseph Quinn is like kind of lining stuff up ahead of filming Fantastic Four. They did the movie is supposed to come out May 2nd, 2025. And originally it was supposed to come out July 25th, 2025, but Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four have now switched release dates. And Florence Pugh actually says she started filming Thunderbolts, so I guess there's no more delays.
Until you said that, I was about to say Thunderbolts is never happening. We're never getting it.
It feels like
it has been delayed and pushed back like so many times. And honestly, I didn't even know Fantastic Four. I guess it doesn't surprise me, but I didn't actually know that there was a release date already slated. But like, talk about like putting the carriage before the horse. Why would you risk like having to totally jam your movie in your schedule to meet this deadline that like would it really make a difference if it's 6 months to a year after? Like, I don't know why the rush. Like, just focus on making a good product, which I know we're going to get into this a little bit later, but that's just so like, I don't understand that business model.
I don't either. And then that's why it's hard when they end up like delaying and switching release dates. You know, the whole like release date shuffle becomes like, oh, here we go again. And I know some of that it was due to the strikes, and some of that is also due to like also not getting things right and needing to fix things behind the scenes. And we know the MCU is going through that a lot lately. But I am glad that the casting is done and like we know who's in it. And the only person we don't know is if they've cast Dr. Doom, or if they do know, they haven't said who he's like the main Fantastic Four villain in the comic books. And I'm assuming they're using him. I also heard rumors about Galactus as well.
They gotta do him justice. Yeah. He's basically a big storm cloud in the 2004 one.
Yeah, and they ruined that. So that's not what he's supposed to be. That being said, too, I want to say just justice for the 2005 cast of Fantastic Four, because it's not like it's a great movie by any means, but once you get that one with Miles Teller and Michael B. Jordan,
I have never seen
that 2005 one. Yeah, that 2005 one feels like Goodfellas in comparison.
Boy.
But yeah, it is interesting because Jessica Alba, of course, is in that movie. It's interesting how that casting for that kind of movie went back then. Because Jessica Alba doesn't seem like the right choice for Sue Storm, but she was pretty popular in 2005. Chris Evans is a good Johnny Storm.
Yeah, I agree.
And then Michael Chiklis was the thing. And he was big back then because he was on The Shield and a few other shows. It's just interesting how different the casting process was for each of these movies. And I think they really wanted to get it right for this one. and at least they got 4 really good actors though. So there's that.
Yeah.
If it sounds like my excitement is muted, it's because my excitement for MCU stuff has been muted a lot lately.
You're not alone. That's the case for most people, I think, right now.
It might get better when I see Deadpool and Wolverine. Who knows? But right now,
it'll reignite some.
Yeah.
You
know, sometimes you need a little time away from things to like appreciate it again. So hopefully that's the case with
that's
the MCU,
a natural phenomenon. I think so.
But yeah.
Piggybacking on a recent episode of ours where we were kind of diving into the state of physical media right now, we kind of got a little update in the last week or so that kind of coincides with that episode. So feel free to go check that out if you haven't already. But some interesting news coming out of Disney and Sony when did this news break? I know you posted
last week, I believe.
6 days ago. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So Disney and Sony, according to your post that I'm looking at right now, actually have signed a major deal for Sony Pictures Home Entertainment. They will be taking over all of Disney's physical media moving forward. Now, I don't know if that's like forever, if there's a cap on that, or is that just like from here on out, Sony will be distributing Disney's physical media?
It looks like from here on out, they didn't mention a cap. And they
that's huge news.
Very huge. They said Sony will market, sell, and distribute all Disney's new releases and catalog titles on physical media to consumers through retailers and distributors in the U.S. and Canada. Disney will continue to manage its own digital media like premium video on demand. No, I think I mentioned you offline. Like this news got me excited because I was like, I just thought about Barbarian, how it doesn't have a physical release, and that's part of that's a 20th century movie, but we all know that like Disney acquired 20th Century Fox, and so it's part of the Disney family. That was the first thing I thought. I was like, please, of any catalog title, and I know this is not an old catalog title by any means. It's like fairly
still falls in there though. Yeah, 2022.
But I would love a physical release of that movie. That was like how I thought of this news, and I was like, do something like that. I hope they really.
I will be scooping that up first chance I see it if it does end up getting a physical release, because I think we need to knock on the doors of that studio to pump out a physical release of that. Another one that I'd be excited to see a physical copy of is Prey, which is a 20th Century Fox as well, I believe, right?
Yeah, that'd be good.
That'd be fantastic.
It's interesting because in that same story, they said revenue for physical media in the U.S. dropped 28% to $754 million in the first half of 2023, compared with the $1.05 billion in the prior year, according to data from the trade association DEG, the Digital Entertainment Group. But like Kenny said on the episode that we did, it's still a really big collector's market, and I think that is, like he said that. I mean, he said that in the episode that he feels like that's where that's going for physical media, where it's going to be more of a collector's thing rather than a casual, moviegoer, buying physical media. But I thought, I think everyone that loves physical media felt like this was good news. It was like a step in the right direction, that at least they're not totally abandoning ship when it comes to some of their titles, and they're doing something to get those out. So I was happy with the news.
I was pumped. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of like down in the dumps after our chat with Kenny from Mid-Level Media, like just thinking about like how dismal things look for physical media. So for this news to break like a week or two after that conversation was like a godsend. It like really like ignited a fire in me. I was like super happy. One thing I can't wrap my head around is it's no secret like the mess that Disney's in with its financials after the last couple of years they've had at the box office. I think their only lucrative sort of avenue right now is their parks are pumping out their money for them. Like Disney Plus has lost the money. Their 2023 and 2022, maybe not so much 2022, but definitely last year they lost big dollars at the box office to the tune of like almost $2 billion. So the fact that they wouldn't want to go in on $750 million, regardless of that, physical media sales have dropped by a definitely significant amount, 22 or 23% year over year. That's still $750 million that they are passing up from physical media revenue. I don't know why they think that they can just part ways with that, but good for Sony for acquiring that deal, and they'll be raking in all the money from Disney's, which Disney owns some of the most lucrative properties that there are. So in particular, like in their catalog releases, not so much what they've been putting out recently, but in any way, the money tied to their IP with Star Wars and their 20th Century Fox titles and the MCU just seems like a missed opportunity and really, quite frankly, studio mismanagement. If you ask me, obviously there's probably things that I don't understand behind that, but just seems like a lot of money left on the table for them and they could probably use it right now. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think it's a really weird move, especially. Yeah, you're right. They have lost a lot of money, and like you said, Disney Plus has lost money. Actually,
Which
they actually bled subscribers. I think in their last uh quarterly like earnings call, they talked about how they bled subscribers. They lost some for
right.
Disney Plus. Some of their movies, have had outrageous budgets and then did not make their money back. Didn't break even. And like you said, their theme parks are where a lot of their money is coming from. But I don't know. I mean, at least you know what? Whatever the reasons, I'm glad that something's happening where they're
exactly. I feel appreciative at least that they are allowing because it's like Kenny had mentioned, like it's not necessarily in some studio's best interest to allow people to buy their media like for that one-time purchase when they could keep those titles and stream them and make you pay for them on a monthly basis and control how and when you watch them. So I am just grateful though, regardless of why, that they are at least allowing their content to be distributed in physical form. That is bottom line. That's what I'm happy for, and not going to ask too many questions. It just did seem odd to me though that they're not going in on all that money, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, give us Barbarian. That's all.
Yes, I will shut up after that.
Yeah. Give us that first. I will take that. And I'm just glad. And whatever. I'm trying to think of other catalog. Prey was a good one to bring up. But I'm sure there's other ones that we don't have from them that we would love to have. And
those are the two that jump
for that. Yeah. So good news on that front, even though it's a little head scratcher on Disney's part, but whatever works for us.
Definitely. And we got lots of directing news over the last couple of weeks too. I'll let you lead off with whichever one. We got several projects that just found new directors. Some were just announced, but we got a couple to bounce off you guys. So why don't you find one you're most excited for, Gaius?
All right. So well, actually these biopics about music artists, I think it's really cool that both of them are getting a movie because I like both music acts a lot. I think Sam Mendes, what he's doing with his Beatles project is pretty interesting.
Definitely.
Sam Mendes and his Neil Street Productions, in association with Sony Pictures, have set plans to make 4 separate theatrical films, one on each of the members of the Beatles. It says Mendes will direct all 4 of the films. And this also marks the first time Apple Corporation and the Beatles, which includes Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, and the families of John Lennon and George Harrison, have granted full life story and music rights for a scripted film.
Wow.
Mendes conceived the method of presenting the films, and they will be interconnected stories run from each band member's point of view. So this is actually seems like the most interesting, if it's done right, way to present a musical biopic.
Yeah.
I'm interested solely in it because of that. Like the approach is so different. I mean, I watched that Bob Marley One Love movie 2 weeks ago. They sent it to me at home and I watched it, and while the acting was very good, it was still a very by the numbers music biopic where it hits all the beats of what you expect from that kind of movie, which made it not all that interesting to watch, considering how much of a legend Bob Marley is in the music industry. You would think like a movie about his life and music would bring forth a better movie. But this sounds very interesting and a very like unique approach to that. So what do you think about it?
I'm like, I didn't honestly feel one way or another. I was like, hey, that's great that we're getting a Beatles biopic. Like, that's pretty cool. I don't think we've really, none at least that jump out to me. I know there's been Beatle adjacent movies like
Yesterday.
Danny Boyle's Yesterday. Yeah, exactly. But this is pretty cool. I do find the approach that I think that's really ambitious. The four biopics about each band member. I love that approach. However, I kind of help but wonder if maybe a limited series with a couple episodes dedicated to each band member might have been a more like a digestible kind of approach to that. But I do got to commend Sam Mendes for his ambition and lining up those 4 movies. I'm definitely down to check them out. Admittedly, I'm not the biggest Beatles fan in the world. I don't not like their music by any means. I just haven't really like delved into their discography. I do have a few of their songs that I really, really enjoy, but I've never really like gone out of my way to really dive into all their music. So I'll probably look at this as an opportunity to really like familiarize myself with the Beatles. I'm a big music guy, like almost as much as I am a movie guy, but those are just one of those bands that kind of just off my radar. But I love Sam Mendes' previous work. He's directed a couple of my favorite movies, so
Okay.
really excited to see what he does with those. And I think the thing I'm most looking forward to now is who they're going to cast as each band member.
That will be the most interesting thing to watch, I think.
Definitely.
Because I think that casting and then I wonder if they go like unknown or if they go with big names. I think that's that'll be an interesting choice, because I think unknown would be a little bit better, because you can actually maybe see that person get lost in playing them and not be distracted by like a big actor playing one of those parts. But yeah, I love to see what that direction is going to be.
Definitely. I can see Austin Butler kind of gravitating towards one of those roles.
Probably. Oh god, if he can play a Beatle and had played Elvis.
Yeah, I imagine. See, he's already got the experience, right? But
yeah. You know what? I was told by a friend, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I just thought about that when you made the comment about the Beatles, and you were like, you didn't say you weren't a big fan. You just said like you're not really into their music.
Yeah, exactly.
But one of my buddies was like, if you want to like piss off a particular age group, just say that like I think the Beatles are okay, or I don't really like them. Like, and like he was like, there's nothing pisses off a certain generation more when you're like, yeah, they're all right.
Exactly.
I guess they're just
older rock fans.
Yeah, they're universally loved by a lot of people. I mean, it's one of those things where I grew up listening to them, and that's probably why I like them. But they're definitely not like my favorite band ever, you know.
Right.
But you know, there are some songs that of course stand out, and they are on my rotation of stuff whenever I do decide to listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a movie about their lives would be completely interesting, because you know that was a group that started as like, kind of felt like they started more conceived as like a typical what we would think a boy band is, and then they get more, you know, progressively creative as time goes on, and they did a lot in a relatively short amount of time. As
in
a
like
group.
5 years, weren't they only together like 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, it's like pretty quick. So I mean, but you know, and of course, you know, separately they have really interesting lives. I mean, of course, John Lennon on his own. When he breaks off from the group, there's that whole like Yoko Ono thing that can be really interesting. Like, did she break up the group? Did she not? You know, Ringo just being Ringo. Poor Ringo has always been like the one that's like, oh, well, you're there.
Yeah, the black sheep of the group for sure.
And then, and of course, Paul McCartney had an incredible solo career too after the Beatles were done. So I mean, a lot of interesting ways to go, I think, if it's done right. So I'm interested. I am also interested in that casting too. That's gonna be really cool to see who they pick.
And then on the other side of that coin, with musical biopics coming our way, the never slowing down Ridley Scott, the guy literally is going to work until he's in the grave. He is slated to direct a biopic of the Bee Gees. The only song I can tell you is obviously "Staying Alive," like that's their famous tune. I love that song. I still listen to that song. Like when that comes up on my shuffle, like I still jam to that song to this day. I don't know any other Bee Gees songs, so again, this will be one of those.
Oh man, really?
Yeah, no. If you have any recommendations, send them my way. I would love to check them out. I just had never dived into them either.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of what most people would know, they became huge in like the disco era because of Saturday Night Fever, which is the John Travolta movie. They did the soundtrack for that.
I didn't know they did that. That's cool.
And they won 5 Grammys for that, including Album of the Year for their contributions to that movie. Staying Alive, You Should Be Dancing is also a good one if you want to groove out to a song. It's really good. And then they have a sappy kind of slow song, but it's really good also from Saturday Night Fever. How Deep Is Your Love is really, really good. They just have really great voices, very unique voices too. And they were huge in the disco era. Another band that's interesting, like, you know, their lives probably are. I mean, I watched a documentary about them, and definitely could be a really good movie if Ridley Scott tackles all the kind of stuff that group went through. Someone mentioned that this is a very unique project for Ridley Scott.
I was going to say, has he done anything like this before?
Never.
I don't think so. No.
But they are fast tracking this movie, they said, and
great.
And this is Paramount that's fast tracking it. They really wanted Ridley Scott to do it because apparently they've screened footage from Gladiator 2, and everyone on this every studio is like at Paramount is like stoked on what they've seen from Gladiator 2, which is why they're like, we really need to get him for this because we want to like. And he also has a connection to the group. I said someone group's longtime manager at the time, Robert Stigwood, was a music model who had been managing the group since the 1960s and played a big part in its resurgence in the 70s during the disco era, while at the same time getting into the movie producing business. Stigwood put Ridley Scott on the medieval film Castle Accident that would star the band's three brand members, Barry, Robin, and Maurice. Ultimately, that film never quite came together, but Ridley Scott has maintained a relationship with the remaining Bee Gees. So that's why that's possibly happening, but it does feel like a great departure from his other stuff.
Definitely a departure. He also is known for really, really hastily pumping out movies. Like, he's a very effective worker. So I guess it kind of makes sense. He'd be the guy you'd want to hire if you're trying to fast track a movie. He's outspoken about how quick and concise he is with his movie production. So I guess that makes a little bit more sense to me.
Yeah. So yeah, how they did it too. They said Scott, despite his age, he finds his next projects very quick. So they were fast to send him a copy of the latest draft of the Bee Gees script before he could take on another movie. So they wanted to move really fast in getting him, and that's understandable because we've talked about on the show countless times that, like you said, he will work until he's in the grave, I guess, and he has no intentions of slowing down.
No.
And yeah, so yeah, you only know one Bee Gees song. I threw out a couple more at you to discover, but I guess other than like Ridley Scott doing it, like you're kind of probably like, I don't really know if this really is a good thing, bad thing. You know,
I mean,
I
love Ridley Scott. I mean, I feel innately positive about it. I love Ridley Scott. I'm excited for him to do something like that, especially something that's different. And if you say that you think the Bee Gees' career and story is worthy of film, then I take your opinion 100%. I think that'd be a good match. Just excited that he's still working, honestly. That guy's a workhorse.
Yeah, I'll take anything from him at this
Born November 30th, 1937, for any of you guys wondering.
And that still cranking out movies. Still has a very blunt disposition about the whole process. He's at that age where he will just say anything, and I kind of love that.
87 years old.
Yeah. And also, I mean, to further understand the property of the Bee Gees, they have sold more than 220 million records worldwide. And they are one of the biggest selling groups of all time as well. But yeah, Saturday Night Fever is what put them on the map in a big way. I've only seen that movie once, by the way. I don't remember it. I was pretty young when I saw it. I probably should rewatch it. It is like it was a staple of his time and really made John Travolta. The combination of that movie and Grease made John Travolta a huge star back in the late 70s. And I remember it being all right, but it's been so long since I've seen it that I can't give a fair assessment of it. But I do remember the music, and that soundtrack is huge from the Bee Gees.
I looked up Saturday Night Fever to see when it came out. So it came out in 1977, and when I typed that in, John Travolta is also in a movie from 1983 called Staying Alive, which is funny.
Oh, I think it's that may be a sequel to Saturday Night Fever. I think it is.
It looks like it is based on its also got a 23 Metascore.
It was not as well received as the first movie for what
Sylvester Stallone directed it and wrote it. What the hell is this? That is crazy.
You're finding Jackson discovering weird movie news in real time.
What the hell? I never would have guessed that. Yeah. Okay, interesting.
And I guess we got more directing news coming your way. No more musical biopics, but that dinosaur movie finally has a director, an official director. After David Leitch was attached to it and then dropped out, they got Gareth Edwards to direct the next Jurassic Park or next World film. They keep calling it. Right. They said that Edwards came on board after impressing producer Steven Spielberg and Frank Marshall with his take on what he was going to do with the movie. And they get to keep that July 2nd, 2025 release date. He's no stranger to directing big movies. He directed Godzilla, which kind of kicked off the whole monster verse for Warner Brothers. He directed, I still think, the best of the newer Star Wars movies. He directed Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, which is really good. and he directed a film that you really loved, The Creator.
You have not seen yet, right?
I haven't watched it yet. I really need to.
Okay,
I know.
yeah.
I really need to. And you know what? What I gathered from this news, I still don't think we need another one. But I guess if it's in anyone's hands, it's good. It's in his. So
I think
that's
it's
how
a
I kind
good
of feel.
director. Yeah, I agree. I'm not clamoring for another one. I like all the premise. There's several of the Jurassic Park movies that I enjoy even more probably than some other people. I think dinosaurs are a great, movie framework to build something off of. And I still think there's an appetite there. But again, I'm not clamoring for anything. But if anyone's going to do it, I might as well be Gareth Edwards. I would like to see him stick with sci-fi, but this is sort of still in that same umbrella. Yeah. So I just hope, he gets some creative reign. And if he does anything like what he did with The Creator, man, then bring it on, because that movie was something else.
Yeah. And he did mention, I saw a snippet of like a comment that he made about getting the job, and he was trying to like contact his like family and friends to like let them know the news before it like really broke. And he seems super excited to be a part of like a huge franchise. Okay. And he is a capable director, so I like the news on like that level.
Yeah,
I just don't think we need another Jurassic Park or World.
No,
whatever.
Probably not.
I mean, I guess I'm okay with the fact that they're not. It's not going to be a continuation of like the last three we got, and they're not even gonna. It's not going to be a continuation of any other people that were in like the first three movies.
That's also good news for me too. Like, I'm glad that they're not doing that.
And I get it. Even the last one that was awful, it got bad reviews, made $1 billion worldwide. So I guess I understand.
That's why we're in this. That's why we're having this conversation.
This fucking predicament that we're in with more dinosaur movies. But like I said, it feels like it's in capable hands, and I'm cool with it on that level. I hope he does something unique and interesting with it. I think you might be in the same boat as well when it comes to that. So
definitely. This is sort of directing adjacent news. Not much to really go off of here, but it was announced later last week that, and this is a very interesting pairing. Tom Cruise, who needs no introduction, he's slated to star in Alejandro Inarritu's latest movie. Now, Alejandro Inarritu is a very, very famous Mexican director. He's directed projects such as 2014's Best Picture winner Birdman, and then the next year he directed Leonardo DiCaprio to his first Oscar in The Revenant. So for those who might recognize those movies, that's what you can look forward to for him. One movie I got to see from Inarritu is 2006's Babel with Brad Pitt, and I really got to see that. Yeah, Cam,
that's so good.
We were talking about this news last week, just him and I together, and he's like, he brought that up. He goes, "Yeah, have you ever seen Babel from Inarritu?" Because I've seen Birdman and The Revenant several times each, and I had told him I had not seen it, and he's like, "Yeah, man, we got to get that in real soon." He was like hyping it up quite a bit, so I looked into it a little bit today, and yeah, that's gonna get that in here soon. But I think that him working with Tom Cruise, I never would have, I couldn't have. That wasn't on my bingo card, so that's pretty interesting news.
It wasn't, but what I like about it, so this is going to be a Warner Brothers movie, and then we talked about on the show how Tom Cruise signed that kind of a deal with Warner Brothers to develop original and like franchise projects. Some people have been saying that a part of that deal that was interesting for Tom Cruise is, even though he has found a new career being, I jokingly said, like a glorified stuntman in the last like several years, they said that he is interested in doing more prestige auteur kind of work.
Okay, good. And he has that,
and he hasn't done that in a really long time. So that is why I was particularly excited by this news. So I was like, if we can get more Collateral Tom Cruise or Magnolia Tom Cruise, Born on the 4th of July Tom Cruise, I will take it. Not that I don't like what he's done in the last few years. He is the biggest movie star working in the industry today, and he does make fun action films, but he is capable of so much more than that, and he's proven that over and over again. But he hadn't done that in like a few years, more than a few years. So even though we don't know much about this movie other than Alejandro's working with the co-writers he worked with on Birdman.
Awesome.
That's positive. And we know it's an original story from him as well. And he was taking meetings with a select few actors, and Cruise was one of them, and that's how they linked up. There's also been rumors that that Tom Cruise might be attached to Tarantino's film, and
Oh,
they've only been rumors so far though, which is why I haven't gone too deep into
okay.
that.
I've
But
not
if
heard
that
any of that.
but if that is the direction that Tom Cruise is headed in, that does seem like he is wanting to like flex his muscles again as an actor, and that has me excited. So yeah, we don't know much about this movie at all or anything about it, but the pairing of the two seems to like hint at like maybe a next evolution of Tom Cruise's career.
That'd be great because
So that
as he gets older, I mean, he's still in wicked shape, still very capable stuntman. But it would make sense that as he gets older and becomes less capable to do these very extremely physically taxing stunts, that we'll see his career shift to back to more acting-driven movies and projects. So,
yeah,
if that's the case, seems like this is a great way to start. Can't wait to see what him and Inarritu cook up together, and then hopefully, I would love to see him in Tarantino's movie too.
yep. And this is actually Alejandro's first English language film since The Revenant. So there's also that as
Wow,
well.
that'll be like a 10-year
Um,
gap, 10, 11 years. Yeah, he
yeah,
did Bardo in
yeah.
2022, I think. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if he got Leo an Oscar? What if he got Tom Cruise an Oscar? That'd be a
Oh,
really
that'd
good.
be sweet.
They might put him in the Directors Hall of Fame if he can
Yeah, I
actually
bet.
accomplish that. But yeah, so I'm excited for that news. That's when I first saw it, I was like, good on him, because like he is so, like I said, I felt like Collateral was the last time he's like acted, and everything else is. I mean, it's easy for him to be like Ethan Hunt
Right.
over and over again,
Or Les
and
Grossman.
yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah,
But yeah, hopefully we hear more about that film and what it's about soon, and we will bring that news to you when it comes out.
definitely. Moving now to a little bit more negative news, at least for me. I don't know what your plan or like your thoughts were for Mickey 17, Bong Joon-ho's most recent movie. That is finally we were mentioned this on a previous news episode after it had been sort of delayed without a date attached, which was we were kind of speculating that it might be pushed to later in 2024 to maybe prep it for awards
Like,
contention. That
yeah,
has not been the case. It's now been slated to come out in January 2025. I don't like that news. I don't know why that's the case. Did it switch places with anything that you know of?
no, there's like nothing. They said that the upside is
Why
that
January?
it has that like spot to itself. And
Okay,
then they were
maybe
like,
that's
oh,
why.
and it has like it'll have all the IMAX screens. That I feel like they were putting a positive spin on it. January seems like a really weird date for the movie because like it's coming from a director who this is his follow up to an Oscar winning film that was a huge Oscar winning film,
Yeah, 4
and
big ones.
so January does not. It feels like unless the movie isn't that good. I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine it not being good, but like
I
it
know,
feels
hard
like
to
weird to
imagine.
dump it.
It
I did find out
does.
that the budget for that movie is $150 million.
Ooh,
And
that's okay. That's I'm not liking where this is going.
yeah,
January,
yeah,
good movie or not, it's still just not a very bumping box office month.
yep. It's January has been commonly known as like the dumping ground for some studios that month and September. Now there are exceptions to the rule. Like
Of
sometimes you get like
course.
a hit in that month, but it's not the time that you would release a film from like an Oscar winning director, and it's a follow up to like a big Oscar winning film. Like it seems really weird.
And
Um,
even Oscar, like Parasite aside, Bong Joon-ho has been a phenomenal, like top tier director for 2 decades, even before Parasite. Like he's got some movies that like stand the test of time like no other. Like his Memories of Murder, like his Korean movies are fantastic.
okay.
He's done some American work too, but like yeah, he's a wicked director. So I really don't know what to make of this dump to January, honestly. But
Yeah, I
Robert
mean,
Pattinson stars in this movie too.
I think what we originally thought, right, it was gonna like try to qualify for festival season. That made sense if they released it like in the fall of this year.
Hmm.
But someone made a good point. They're not even giving it like a platform release in December, so it's not going to qualify for any Oscars until like if it does, it would be for the 2025 year, and like it's coming out in January, so it's really early in that time period. So maybe it's not like an Oscar movie. Maybe there's just a lot that we don't know,
Yeah.
despite the fact that like it has Robert Pattinson in it, Stephen Ewan, Naomi Aki, Tony Collette, and Mark Ruffalo are in it. Good cast from a Oscar-winning director. I know that like the strike is what delayed. What that was the original excuse given that for why it wasn't going to open March 29th of this year, but the January date, and I've been trying to ask people what they thought about it and like seeing what other people have said about it, and it's a head scratcher for a lot of them too. And I don't want to assume that the movie's not good, but it just feels like a weird time to release that kind of movie. I don't know.
We still have only had that one shot from it to look at. Where there's nothing else. I'm on IMDb right now, and there is a little promo trailer for it, and it still says coming March 29th, 2024. Nice. But it does now under the credits it does say it's in post production, expected January 31st, 2025. But what I have not noticed before when I've been on the IMDb page is there is now a very brief blurb about the premise of the movie. It's not very in depth, so I'll share it for those that are interested about the premise of Mickey 17, which I believe is adapted from like a very well-known book or comic or something. I think it's adapted from another medium. I just can't remember.
It's from a book called Mickey 7, actually. So yeah.
Okay. So the blurb on IMDb about the premise says to stop his substitute clone Mickey 8 from supplanting him, Mickey 7, an expendable robot, is dispatched to an icy planet to settle it. It kind of sounds like Moon, that movie with Sam Rockwell from like 2009. Yeah. Kind of sounds a little bit like that, but yeah.
I don't know. It's really like worrisome news though. It feels like it's being dumped. But maybe but I don't know if you dump a movie like that with a director like this and a cast like that, but
still suspect to say the least.
Yeah, it's a really odd date. And I know they tried to spin it with like, oh well, there's not much opening in January and they need to fill that slot. But what I gather from it, maybe it's not a Oscar movie the way that maybe we thought it would be. Everything that comes from an Oscar-winning director doesn't have to be. I think all of us were expecting it might be though, because it's his follow-up to Parasite. So maybe it's our fault for putting like undue expectations on him. But I don't know. I wasn't encouraged by the new date.
No, nor am I.
But yeah, we also have another movie that it got delayed as well. And this one was coming out this year. It was pretty soon. The Ballerina, which is a John Wick spinoff starring Ana de Armas, it's been delayed a year from June 7, 2024 to June 6, 2025. They said the reason is because is it Chad Stahelski? Who was he inked a new deal with Lionsgate to oversee the entire John Wick franchise, and they said that he's working with Ballerina director Lynn Wiseman on additional action sequences for the movie to amp up the spinoff a bit more. Some people thought that was really just not good news either. That they need to film more action scenes. But it happens.
I'm thinking the good part. I'm okay with that because of it's taking it switched places with the Crow remake or reboot, I guess. So I'm totally okay with that because I can't wait for that movie.
Yeah. So now this is a movie that I keep hearing about in my peripheral. They've been trying to reboot The Crow forever, and at one point Jason Momoa was attached to one rendition of it, but now Bill Skarsgård is the one playing the Eric Draven role in this one. For a long time, I wish they hadn't touched. I didn't want them to touch The Crow because it's the first one is so good, and they've tried to make sequels and they've been awful. And also, I think because of the tragedy surrounding Brandon Lee in that movie, there's something that's been so I don't know, of its own. It feels really weird to try to do it again with someone else. But I guess it's been so long since the movie came out that they can do it. Right. But they're and I know it was a graphic novel first, and they adapted for the film with Brandon Lee, but it's something I associated with him so much, and
understandably so.
That I've never been on board with a remake, but it doesn't sound like it'll be bad. I mean, it sounds like they got a good cast, and I think what was surprising though that they were able to move it to so early to come out in June of 2024.
That is an interesting move, yeah.
Because I hadn't really heard much about the filming process or anything from it. I don't even think there's any stills or anything from the production that I could find online.
I haven't heard anything about it.
Have you seen The Crow, the original?
I did, yeah. I saw it. It was either last year or 2022. Cam and I sat down and watched that for the first time, and I really enjoyed it. I'm anticipating a rewatch for this one, so I'm thinking that my I didn't score it. It was kind of before I was really like that adept with
Letterboxd.
keeping Letterboxd. Yeah, but I will see what a second viewing lends to my experience. But I enjoyed it though. But I'm thinking I'm really excited for the reboot, mostly because I'm a big Bill Skarsgård fan. Can't wait to see what he does with that role. I think he's a perfect casting for that. I'm not too confident in the director, just seeing what he's done.
Yeah, who directed it? Is it Sanders?
Rupert Sanders, yeah. He did 2017's Ghost in the Shell, which I didn't see it. I know that it was controversial for kind of like whitewashing an Asian role.
Yeah, with Scarlett Johansson.
That aside, I don't really know how the film stands. It looked visually stunning. I just didn't see it. And then the only other feature length that he did that I can see was 2012 Snow White and the Huntsman. Yeah, so not a great filmography to be going into this with, but I don't think that should discount what he might be able to do with The Crow.
Totally forgot because like I think he had a wife when he was making that movie, and he had like an affair with Kristen Stewart. That's all I remember from that.
Boy.
It was a really bad PR moment for.
That's tough.
I think she kind of escaped it a little bit more than he did, but wasn't a good look at all. So that brought me back to that. Also, the original Crow came out on May 13th, 1994, so it could be anniversary for our show.
Oh, yeah, may as well.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think I want to see more. Yeah. I was like, did this come out in 94? And I looked, I was like, yeah, May 13th, 1994.
Which is a Monday, which is when we film.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
nice,
easy.
Perfect. That's an easy one. There we go. Yeah, it's such a good movie, and I mean, I probably like it a little bit more than you do, but I also another movie I grew up with, and I think and it's also like I think the tragedy of that movie, and it sounds just makes the themes of it hit harder. I don't know if it would have hit as hard if Brandon Lee hadn't died making it. But that whole life after death thing, like the whole thing in that it just, and then like if you look at interviews from when Brandon Lee was filming The Crow, it's almost like the guy knew what was going to happen to him. Like he had like these interesting views on like life and death and all that, and it just kind of informs the movie a bit more, knowing that stuff. And
I'll have to check those out before I watch it.
I just wonder if like the reboot will have that same kind of emotional kind of heft to it without that, but it could very well. And I like Bill Skarsgård too.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Like, not a bad choice. But yeah, no Ballerina, no Anna de Armas, but we get The Crow this year. It said, are you concerned about the delay? Are you kind of like, oh, that's cool if they want to amp up action scenes?
I'm fine with it. You're fine with it? I trust Chad Stahelski. He's more than proven himself to be capable. I trust what they are doing with that. And honestly, like I'm still like, we got John Wick 4 last year, almost a year ago, I guess, in a couple months. But I'm not clamoring. I know, because crazy how time flies. But I'm not clamoring for more of that universe right now. I'm happy with what we got. I still am okay with getting more, but like I'm not like, oh my God, I need more John Wick in my life right now. I still want to rewatch 4. So I think more time in between that is fine. And I'm excited for the Crow reboot. So I'm totally fine with that. So it's kind of like a happy accident in my perspective anyway.
Yeah. Did you watch The Continental yet? The one that Peacock show that they did, like spinoff?
No, I probably won't ever, because I doubt I'll go out of my way to subscribe to Peacock, but it was only 3 episodes, wasn't it?
Yeah, like 3 or 4, something like
3 or 4. Yeah,
breathing. Yeah.
I would come across, like if I come across it, I'll watch it, but I don't know if I'll really go out of my way to see it. Did you?
No, I didn't. I heard mixed reviews, so then I kind of stayed away. But maybe I'll check it out. Also, I'm fine with the way things ended with that last John Wick. And I know that I know it was a prequel, but like I was fine with like putting that universe to bed for a time being, which is why I don't think I'm too worried about the like yourself with the Ballerina delay either. Like give it time, do whatever you need to make it as good, and then release it then. Yeah. So what we got next?
Last bit of news before we get into a couple of trailers and box office. I don't have the numbers to support this in front of me. Maybe you do, but this kind of goes in hand in hand. We got 2 sequels that are coming out this year that have had some really startling budget news kind of come out about them recently. So Gladiator 2, Ridley Scott's movie that's debuting in the winter of this year, and oh my goodness, why am I blanking? Todd Phillips' Joker 2. Both have had insane budgets balloon out of control, it seems like. You have the numbers in front of you now, don't you?
I do. They said for Gladiator 2, the blockbuster's 49-day shoot had originally been budgeted at 165 million before rising to a reported 310 million. This would put this would put the film in the top 10 most expensive movies ever made, just behind Avengers: Infinity War, which cost $325 million to make.
I thought it was like 290 or 280. I didn't know it was 310 million.
10. In the case of the Joker sequel, this news was kind of buried in a bigger story about how they think Warner Brothers is trying to make itself more attractive for a potential sell and merger with another studio, which is why they've been recruiting people like Tom Cruise and like wanting to like basically fix their image that they kind of messed up last year with shelving films for tax write-offs and The Flash and all that other stuff. Right. But within that story was they said that the budget for the Joker 2 increased to $200 million. Joaquin Phoenix was paid $20 million to reprise his role. Lady Gaga was paid $12 million. I mean, that's part of the budget, but that's it seems really seems really big for a movie like this. And just bear in mind that the first Joker cost $60 million to make, so that is a huge increase in budget. This movie's gonna have musical numbers and stuff too, and all that.
Right.
It still seems excessive. I put a poll on G-Rolls asking if anyone thought it was excessive. And I think like 95% people think, it was excessive.
Definitely.
For this kind of movie. And then that Gladiator 2 budget news came out like a couple of days after this. And so it's just another example of I don't know how it gets so out of control. They are. I
haven't heard anything about delays, reshoots, or troubles with the production. I don't know where this I'm sure maybe, we'll get some more news the closer it comes out, but can't imagine why. But now that almost solidifies a box office failure for at least Gladiator 2. I think Joker 2 still stands a good chance. I mean, the first one was $1 billion earner. I still think that there's some good some good demand, I guess, for the sequel there. I'm excited for it, knowing it's a musical and all that. I think that's a good one to keep under wraps though, because I think you might lose some people on that. Maybe I've heard some of my own friends that like the first Joker hear that it was a musical and not being a big fan of that. So keep that under wraps. But the Gladiator 2 now has to be $1 billion earner to break even, which is not great. As much as huge as Ridley Scott is and the first Gladiator movie is, Gladiator 2 I don't think is going to really have like the younger audiences running out to see it. It's going to probably skew older and male. So I mean, I'm not sure that there's $1 billion worth of customers lining up to see it. I'm just glad we're getting it. It's just I'm worried about what that's going to mean for other action epics going forward if they prove to be unviable. But that is not the genre's fault. That is clearly some mismanagement with the production. I can't imagine why that budget.
I'm glad you brought that up, because like a report from the World of Real said it's interesting that initial comments about Gladiator that we talked about in that BG story. So they were blown away by the footage that they saw, right? But then the Hollywood Reporter, when they announced what the budget had ballooned to, they said in that piece that Paramount execs are feeling terribly vexed by the whole ordeal, and that it's a runaway and it's not being managed. And this is like an anonymous person from Paramount for it to balloon like that. They said that the strikes accounted for some of that money, as the shutdown was costing Paramount $600,000 a week, which roughly tallied to around $10 million in losses once production restarted in December. However, they said that's not enough to justify a budget that skyrocketed to over $300 million. It turns out that there were accidents on set. You actually brought that up, I think, on one episode that there was an accident on set, and there was also complaints about animal abuse and walkouts. They said a stunt gone wrong in June sent 4 crew members to the hospital with non-life-threatening burn injuries. Then in July, PETA sent an open letter to Scott filled with whistleblower reports about horses and monkeys being abused on set. Reports that sources close to the production denied, noting that the Humane Society was on site during filming. But they said even despite all that and the stars attached, that budget doesn't make much sense.
I didn't consider the strikes and like the financial impact that would have on the budget. That makes sense, but yeah, that's a drop in the bucket in a $310 million budget movie.
And honestly, you take $10 million off of that, you still have a $300 million budget. I mean, if that was like the cost of that, and they originally greenlit it for $165 million because that's what that seems like that was.
That is so bad. Oh my god!
I know. In Ridley Scott, you really trust, and I will also
in Ridley, I trust for sure.
But that's a lot. And I am nervous about a movie having to make pretty much $1 billion to break even. They with the Joker, they were like, "Hey, that last movie made $1 billion, so maybe it's a good investment to spend $200 million on the sequel." But it definitely has a plot or a potential plot that might alienate some people from seeing it, and that's
I think so.
That's the whole musical aspect, and I will be interested to see, like most movie musicals being promoted right now, if they will actually put that all out in the marketing or not, and pretend like it's not a musical. And then
I'm guessing they won't really market it that way, just judging on current trends. But anyway, I'm excited to see how that all goes. I'm not opposed to it being a musical at all. I think it's an interesting direction. I wouldn't have necessarily picked that as what I want for that movie before it was announced, but I'm not opposed to it by any means.
Well, it's interesting because we are gonna Jackson suggested a really interesting kind of special episode for us to do about kind of like basically the evolution of movie budgets and how we've kind of gotten to this point, because we've been talking about it a lot, where these budgets have gotten insanely out of control, and it's becoming where movies and studios have to rely not just on domestic box office but also foreign box office to break even sometimes, and not even turn a full profit. I'm essentially that these two stories broke right after Jackson suggested doing that. So it's like you're seeing what's going on. You're like,
maybe so. Maybe I got a crystal ball in front of me, but you guys can look forward to that episode. We are slated to chat about that a little bit into March. So keep your eyes on that. Definitely going to be an interesting conversation because something's got to change. It's a really interesting trend right now in Hollywood with these massive budgets, and it's just not sustainable.
Yep, I agree. All right, we have
two trailers to break down. I'll let you choose which one you want to go to first. I think we're going to definitely be on the same page for one of them, and I'm curious to see where we land on the other one.
Yeah, I think we actually offline talked about one of them. We were like, that looks good again. It's the second trailer for that particular movie, and the first one for the one we're going to mention first. I have never played Borderlands. I don't know anything about the video game.
Nor do I.
But it's a upcoming science fiction action comedy being adapted by Eli Roth, who co-wrote the screenplay with Joe Crombie, based on the video game series of the same name, developed by Gearbox Software. The cast is pretty good. This is what I will say I enjoyed about the look, is that we got Cate Blanchett, who already worked with Eli Roth on that House with the Clock in Its Walls or something like that. I feel like I butchered that title, but she was in that. No,
you're right. Yeah,
with Jack Black. Kevin Hart's in this as well. Jack Black, Edward Ramirez, Ariana Greenblatt, who is in Barbie. She was America Forever's daughter in that movie. Bobby Lee, Gina Gershon, and Jamie Lee Curtis. The cast is great.
Yeah, Gina Gershon, I did not know was in this until right now.
Yeah, and she had already worked with Eli Roth on Thanksgiving, so that's probably how that kind of came about.
Right.
What the vibe I got from the trailer when I watched it, it reminded me of Guardians of the Galaxy, and then look and kind of like what they were trying to go for. I just don't know how I feel about it. Yet
I'm with you. I'm curious.
It has potential to be fun, I guess, and the cast is great. By the way, I think filming wraps on this movie June 22nd, 2021.
Oh,
So it,
what?
yeah, and
Oh, Jesus.
it had a lot to do. They filmed it in Budapest during COVID, and so there was a lot of stop and go, and then there were some reshoots, I guess, that had to happen in 2023. It was 2 weeks of reshoots that were directed by Tim Miller,
Yeah,
due
I've
to
seen that.
due to Roth's commitments to Thanksgiving. Uh, and they said while Roth would not be involved with the reshoots, he remained attached to the film and gave Miller his blessing. So I guess say take that with it, whatever how you want to take it. Usually reshoots can be good, can be bad. Um, that being said, when I found out it was done filming in 2021, I was like, this is a huge gap between when they finish
Yeah.
it and when it's coming out. Um, has potential to be fun. And I also read that Gearbox Software says that they believe, and this is a term statement that Jackson and I don't love, but they believe that Borderlands can be the start of a new
Oh
cinematic
my.
universe.
Oh
So
my God, I'm gonna shoot that down right now. There's not a fucking chance. I don't see that happening at all. I love Eli Roth though. I had known that he was directing this, but like even when I saw the trailer, I did not see any of Eli Roth in here really. Maybe some of the
yeah,
comedy. Um, I don't know. I didn't really feel anything about this movie. Didn't do anything for me. It looks colorful and like pretty cool design and set design, production design. Like it'll have good production values and merits, I think. But like
yeah.
I honestly like I don't know what Kate Blanchett's doing in this movie. She seems like way above this sort of material personally.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it. I don't think I've ever said it on the show before. I cannot stand Kevin Hart. I like do not want to even watch him do anything. Like I cannot stand that guy.
No, you never
So
have,
he's
but I
tough.
love that you were honest
No,
about
he's
it.
tough for me to watch. Like he's just one of those guys. Like I could get into it. Like he just seems like one of those guys that like completely sold his soul for Hollywood, and I don't find him
Yeah.
funny even remotely. But anyway, he doesn't. He's not insufferable in the trailer as much as I thought he's been in other things. So whatever.
Yeah.
Again, I guess this is before her Oscar win that she was filming this, but Jamie
Oh,
Lee
Jamie Lee
Curtis, I
Curtis.
think, is a standout in this cast too. Like I don't know what got her into this. Seems very out of her depth, but I don't know. It just there's things I appreciated about the trailer, but overall, like nothing grabbed me about this trailer. So, and I have no connection to the
Game.
original IP, so I don't really,
Yeah.
I don't know what to
I'm
make of it.
I'm with you on, and for those that want to know the plot, the film follows Lilith as she travels to her home of Pandora to find the daughter of Atlas. Along the way, she forms an allegiance with a group of misfits to battle an alien species and dangerous bandits to uncover one of Pandora's most explosive secrets. Um, I don't really know how popular the game. Oh well, I think I can find out. Okay, as of November 2022, more than 77 million copies of Borderlands games had been shipped, with 26 million from Borderlands 2. An additional 5 million copies of Borderlands 3 were sold within 5 days of release, bringing the total series net revenues to over $1 billion in the
Yeah,
US.
okay, that's quite popular.
Yeah, it makes it one of the best-selling video game franchises of all time, but I've never heard of it. I think because like with video games, I aged out. I
Right.
just now I have friends that still my age still play video games regularly. It was one of those things I enjoyed as a kid, teenager, maybe through my early 20s, and then I was like, yeah, I'm not into this anymore.
I'm the same way. Like I'm in my mid 20s now, and there's gonna be video games that I have like this ultimate nostalgia for that I will kind of come back to. I'm sure for the remainder of my life. I'm a big Halo fan. Played many of
Yeah,
the Call of Duties, but like my game time has gone down significantly in the last few years. But I still have some fun. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'll throw on like a Halo campaign every so often just to get back into it. It's a lot of fun, but this was one of those series I never got into. I'm looking at some of the artwork on it, like from the video games on Google right now, and I can't lie, like the the movie looks like it's doing a good job adapting it
adapting it. Yeah,
from that trailer, but I think it's just like just comes down to like that's IP. I just don't really have any stake in it, so I don't really care, I
yeah.
guess. But
I also
I
got like Suicide Squad vibes from it too,
yeah,
like a little bit.
Suicide
And,
Squad
like,
and Guardians of the Galaxy, you're
yeah,
totally right.
and if that's what they're going for, I guess that's I don't know. I just am indifferent. I guess I do love the cast.
Indifferent is a good word. Yeah, the cast is interesting for sure.
except for Kevin Hart for you.
Exactly. Well, I think he still his dynamic is a standout amongst that group, so I can see why they would cast him. I just don't find him funny, so I feel like if I were to watch it, I would just groan every time he says something. But
wait, did you like him in? Did you tolerate him in Jumanji, or did you not like him in that either?
I didn't see that Jumanji.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, wow. Actually, they're actually pretty funny.
I think him and Dwayne Johnson rolling off each other might be funny, but
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I've seen Kevin Hart in anything that I was like that I really enjoyed.
Loved. Yeah. I think he's an acquired taste.
Acquired taste is good. You're hitting all the nails on the head here. Indifferent, acquired taste. Like I completely agree.
But you guys can judge this for yourself when it opens on August 9th, 2024. That August release date is like, hey, if it's a hit, good. But also, hey, we're not too sure about it, so we're gonna release it late summer. That's
same with Alien,
off that vibe.
Romulus, it'll be competing.
Yeah. But the next trailer is promising. It's trailer number 2 for Challengers, which I love that it was like not a long trailer, it was short.
Yeah, I know. Surprising, eh?
I think it was like a minute 40. I think it was like a minute 40 something, and didn't give away too much either. It just sets up whatever the relationship dynamics are, and backed by a really good, cool rendition of "Man Eater" by Nelly Furtado.
Oh my god, dude!
I haven't heard that song in years, dude.
That's another song that I'll bop to every once in a while. I honestly like that song, and props to whoever's marketing this movie. They are fucking killing it. That is one of the best like trailer song pairs that I've heard. Like that, it went so well. I love at the end of the trailer, like when the song is really like reaching its peak, and then it's showing Zendaya, and it's like her game, her rules. Like, I was like, it looks awesome. I'm so on board for this movie.
Yeah, and the first trailer also had a good song. They used S&M by Rihanna to kind of make that trailer stand out, and they're doing a good job of selling what the movie is. And I actually wrote a feature for MovieWeb because I think Zendaya has so far been in hits, but she's been part of an ensemble. Like and the Spider-Man movies, like she's a part of an ensemble. The first Dune, she wasn't in a lot, but we knew that she'd be in the second one a bit more. Of course, she leads Euphoria as well. And in the midst of all that, she's also become one of the most recognizable actresses of her generation, and is a worldwide known actress too, based solely on the fact that she's been in these big, epic kind of ensemble action movies that have hit worldwide. But this will be a test of her leading something on her own. I mean, I'm not saying that Mike Fiennes and Josh O'Connor, they have their own fan base too, but all the marketing is centered around her.
Yeah.
And it's, she is the poster is centered around her mostly. The trailers have been really centered around her. So this will be a real test of her kind of leading Lady Sass if she can open a movie on her own. The way they're marketing it, though, I'm thinking this trailer also came out when it did because they are attaching this trailer to Dune Part 2, which is very smart.
Nice.
As well. I think it's going to be a hit. I don't know how big of a hit. It also depends on reviews, but I think they know they have something, which is why they delayed it in the first place when the strikes happened.
Right.
I don't know. I'm all in on this movie.
I'm even like really trailers good. And marketing aside, like I was all in on this simply because of Luca Guadagnino and his previous works that I've seen. Like have you seen any of his? You've seen Call Me By
Name. Yeah, great movie.
Yeah,
I mean, visually, really.
I haven't seen that one though.
Bones and All. Did you watch?
Yeah, I saw that in theaters in 2022. That was a surprising hit for me. I really liked that one. Did you see that one?
I liked it. I mean, I know it wasn't for everyone, but I liked it.
Definitely out there. But his 2018 rendition of Suspiria, I really enjoyed too.
It's just long.
Longer than necessary. I'm actually how long is it? It's like 220, isn't it? 230. Oh my god,
long, dude,
and very different from Dario Argento's.
Completely
different movie, but
also interesting in its own right. Though I don't hate it. I think it holds its own in its own way. Yeah. I know Dario Argento didn't love it, but
he's still alive. Oh wow.
Yeah, he is still alive. Yeah. I mean, I'm interested because of that too, and I know that Zendaya said that she ended up working with him because she actually talked to Timothée Chalamet, who's worked with him a couple times, and he encouraged her to do it, encouraged her to that be a good role for her to take and a good director to work with. I mean, I think we mentioned before that these little groups of like these new actors, the little our little new Brat Pack. It seems like they're all like suggesting who should work with who, and they've all become super close. And I think it's a good move for her. I mean, it seems like a good like kind of fun dramatic role, but also one that kind of where she can kind of come off more as an adult because she so far has played mostly young.
That's right.
People, and this is a really good adult role for her. I didn't know that people. I didn't know tennis was viewed as something that was like sexy. Like my friend like was talking about the trailer too, and he was like, "When did tennis become sexy?" I was like, "I don't know, man. I guess it did." And then he's like, "And I'm also confused if this like." He's like, "It seems like it's almost like a classy like softcore kind of movie, but like it has a pedigree of not being one."
Right.
So, like, I think the marketing, of course, is selling the sex and all that, but it looks like there might be more to it than that, and the relationship dynamics would be more compelling if the writing and direction is as good as we hope it is. But yeah, 2 trailers now, and I'm sold on it.
I'm all into. I love just Zendaya's performance from what I've seen in these trailers too. She gives her best Han Solo near the end of that second trailer, where she hits him with the she's told she's loved by this guy. She hits him with the "I know." That instantly brought me back to Han Solo's line.
Yeah.
But no, I thought it's looks pretty hard. Honestly, I'm pretty excited for it. Love the artwork on that cover too. With it's clearly not a photograph. It looks like a painting of her looking at the tennis court, and each rival is reflected in her sunglasses. This is super neat. I think this is like destined to become like a Criterion classic. Like it looks awesome.
Hopefully. Yeah. And for those that don't know, it's about the short premises. Following a losing streak, a Grand Slam champion's wife and coach signs him up for a challenger event where he will face off against her former lover. And of course, there's more to it than that, probably. But yeah, this movie was supposed to premiere at the Venice Film Festival, so I think they know they have something pretty solid here, and that's why they delayed it. And if you're wondering why they delayed it, it is, I think a lot of it has to do with Zendaya. She has 184 million Instagram followers, and her reach is pretty significant. And last year, when the first trailer premiered, it was the most watched trailer in its first 24 hours for an original film, not based on any previous IP, reboot, or a sequel. So that's why they delayed it, and that's why it's not coming out until April 26th of this year. And I love when that kind of like when I see marketing like this, I'm always like, why can't every studio find a way to market some of their movies in a similar way, where there are certain trailers and that like grab you right away,
right?
And it could be anything. It could be a hook of the story. It could be like you said, good song choice matching pretty really good imagery going along with said song choice. There's so many good things that they do with trailers like this that I wish other studios would follow suit. Like we never talked about this trailer on the show. I wish every horror film would like market the way that Neon's marketing like Long Legs, because that looks like a really interesting
another
movie
great another great example
based solely on marketing. So I was like, hey, like do that. Whatever. Yeah.
If only it was that easy. Clearly putting together a trailer is very hard work because so many studios seem to get it wrong. It's what I love about the art form is that you never know what you're going to get, and it might look great when you have it behind the scenes at the studio and then you release it and does not necessarily go that way. But like I said, whoever's marketing Long Legs and Challengers are doing a great job, because studios should take note. This is really shaping up to be great. And like you said, April 26th, not that far away. It seemed like it was when it was postponed back in October.
Yeah, I was bummed.
Very excited now. Yeah, it's not that far away now.
Right. And I guess continuing on the Zendaya train, we have box office predictions for a film that we're finally happy that we have something exciting to go see in theaters. There's been a wasteland at movie theaters lately.
Yes.
But Dune Part 2 is opening this weekend. It has a lot of hype surrounding it, a lot of good reviews already. They knew that they had a good movie because they lifted that embargo last week or I think even before that, it was super early. So far, it has a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. That is incredible, and I think it's like I think a lot of reviews already counted for that too. 97% with 154 reviews counted so far. So there's I think one or two begrudgers that didn't like it on Rotten Tomatoes so far.
Irrelevant.
Irrelevant, yes. We're both excited for it. I don't know. I don't know how to predict this, and it's not because I think it's gonna not do well. I think it is gonna do well. I just don't know where it's headed because predictions are all over the place. We can't even really compare it to the first one because the first one was a day and date release in theaters and on HBO Max. It was released during the pandemic when theaters weren't 100% open, but it did have a $40 million opening weekend despite that, and that's pretty good for the conditions that it was released in. I believe the first one made over $400 million worldwide. 101, I believe, or 101 million was from here and from its domestic take. And predictions go from, I just read, as low as 50 to as high as 125 right now. And they said predictions keep going up and tracking keeps going up because of the good reviews so far. And they said pre-sales for the sequel have come on strong in early days, mostly notably in premium formats such as IMAX. And that it actually pre-sales are matching what they saw with Oppenheimer over the summer. Ooh. That movie did, I think 90 million its opening weekend. So yeah, this is a hard one to predict in a very good way.
Yeah, I'm going high for sure. I have a lot of faith in this movie. I think, if anything, that delay for 5 or 6 months probably increased the hype. I think a lot of people, especially like you said, it's been a pretty dull couple months at the box office so far. I think Dune's really going to sneak in there and be the first significant release. And I think if people are anything like us are going to be clamoring to go see something juicy on the big screen, we have not been treated to anything remotely to this scale yet this year. So I'm thinking a lot of people are going to come out for this. I recently, just the other day, got my rewatching of Dune Part 1. I'm at an all-time high right now for this. Like, I loved it. It was so much fun. Great rewatch. I hadn't seen this since theaters in 2021. So yeah, maybe I'm biased. I got a lot of faith riding on Part 2. So what'd you say tracking? I know it's quite the gap, but what's the high end?
The high end right now is 125.
And low was 90?
50. 50, and I think 50,
that's the gap.
Really low. Yeah, that's the
120. How is that making sense?
Tracking is all over the place. I think some of them they're trying to be conservative with the predictions because they're like, even if it was a $50 million opening weekend, it would be an increase over the original opening weekend. But I think what they're seeing from pre-sales and everything that it will be higher than that.
All this to say too, I want to mention that beforehand, like props to, we've seen a lot of movies of a similar scale in the last couple of years with an even bigger budget. This one does not have a small budget by any means. It's 190 million, but like I feel like this could have easily been a $300 million movie in lesser hands. So props to Denis Villeneuve for managing this huge epic feature.
In a good way.
It seems to already be one of the best sequels of all time. So that's boding good for it as well. But I'm going to go in at 115 as my guess. I like that. I'm thinking it's going to do really well.
And I want to correct myself too. The first one actually made 109.9 million domestically and 434.8 million worldwide. I don't want to go too high because I feel like it seems like the excitement's there and the reviews are so good, and they've been promoting the hell out of it too.
Right.
Actually, I've only seen the young cast promoting it a lot. I haven't seen anyone else on TV shows and stuff. It's mostly been them. Yeah, I haven't really seen like Josh Brolin or
Christopher Walken or anything.
And already them like yeah, or yeah. But I guess it makes sense. They're the it kids of the bunch.
Right.
You said 115?
Yeah. I know it's high, but makes things interesting.
All right, I'm gonna go with 105.
Okay.
I think it's cool though. I think it's cool that we both think it could go over 100.
I know, that would be awesome. When was trying to think of what the last like over $100 million opening weekend was.
It would have to be like in the God, I can't even think right now. The summer.
Yeah, either one of the Barbenheimer movies. No, I don't think it was Oppenheimer.
Was it? It would definitely be Barbie. But I think Oppenheimer had 90 or something like that. It was always close.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting? Blade Runner 2049 only grossed $92 million domestically and $257.8 million worldwide. I guess that's why that was considered a disappointment when it came out. So yeah, like you said, Dune needs to make $475 million to break even based on its budget, which covers the film's marketing costs as well as a split that theaters take from the grosses. So I think that's very possible. I think it's definitely outgrossing the original movie, the first movie.
Yeah, I think this is $1 billion movie this year easily.
I also think
saying it now.
I also think that it will. I know Wonka has been Timothée Chalamet's highest grossing film to date worldwide, but I think Dune Part 2 might surpass that. And Wonka currently has grossed $617.2 million worldwide and $214.5 million domestic. And I think that Dune Part 2 is going to overtake that.
I agree.
Could be pretty bullish to say that, but I don't know. It seems right. Yeah. And another little box office news. Nothing really a lot to report because it's been boring. But Madam Web did fall 60% in its second weekend, 60.9% to $6 million. It has grossed $35.4 million domestic. By the way, that doesn't even match the opening weekend of Morbius. In its in 2 weeks.
Oh God, Sony, just give up.
Yeah, and Bob Marley One Love is still number one as of now because there was nothing else really out. It dropped 52%. That's pretty normal. 13.5 million has grossed 71.1 million domestic and 120.5 million worldwide. So it's turned into a little nice little word of mouth hit. And that is really all the box office to report because there was nothing coming up until Dune.
Right.
So we're excited. We'll see who wins. I feel like we both win if it even if it opens below 100, if it's like 90, 80, 75, whatever. Anything higher than the opening weekend of the original movie is a win.
Definitely.
But I still think 50 is too low for the low end, and I could just see it kind of blowing out of the gate this weekend.
Yeah, me too.
Showings are so I already sold out for my friends were trying to figure out what days they wanted to see it, and they were looking on their little AMC apps, and they're like, dude, most of these are almost sold out, or there's only front row seating, and so could be in for a big one.
Yeah, hopefully so. I'm not being shy and thinking that this movie is going to blow everyone away. Cannot wait to see it. I'm slated to see it a couple times this weekend. See it Thursday night and Sunday night. So gonna have that review up there pretty quickly. Cannot wait. This is definitely one of my most excited, most anticipated of the year. So can't believe it's finally here.
Yeah, and if you see it before me, just be like, hey, it's really great. But be as vague as you can.
Yeah, I will be. But go see it as soon as you can.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, that wraps up episode 154.
That's right.
Breezing through these things lately.
Yes, we
are. It was a very, very packed news show. But thank you guys for listening because I was told by someone that you guys like that the show breaks down news and that it makes us unique from the other movie podcasts, as all of them don't do that kind of thing. So thank you for the words of encouragement. Always greatly appreciate it. And if you want to listen to more of this type of thing, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods. But we have to shout out the Playlist Studio app because Playlist is our podcast network and they treat us very well. So make sure you download that app from the iOS store or the Google Play Store if you happen to have a Droid cellular device. We have a lot of shows that we are so excited to give out to you guys in the next few weeks. This is probably the most organized we have ever been. So this is very cool that we actually have a full schedule and know exactly what we're doing. So very excited to what we have in store. And as always, Jackson, thank you for sitting as of this recording for 2 episodes with me. Always makes Mondays a lot better spending with you, my friend. So I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for listening. And until next time, peace out.
See you guys. Take care.